Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana. Super excited. We've been trying to get these guys on for a long time, haven't we?
We have been. Yes, we definitely have been. But everybody's schedules are crazy and it's life, I think, right? But super excited to have my two best friends, Josh and Heath, on today, Josh Shepler and Heath Green. So welcome, guys.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Thanks for having us. We're super excited.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting. It's just like a Friday evening chat with friends.
So where's the lemon drop, the lemon teeny or what?
Right? It's not 5 o'clock yet, is it?
Somewhere.
That's true. So true. Well, we obviously know a lot about you all and your story, and you recently also started your own podcast. So I want to make sure that we talk about that because it has been incredible. And I know you've had tons of success and tons of subscribers, just like I knew that you would. But maybe start with giving a little bit of background for those people that don't know you, that are our listeners around. Maybe Josh, if you want to start first and then bring in Heath, kind of how we did on the last one or whatever works best for you guys.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate since 2006. Got into real estate when it was not the best market. And I still remember this day, they said in my training that if you make it through this market, then you will always be a real estate agent. Yeah. And I can still hear that today. So, we talked a lot about at family reunion about winter, and I got into real estate during winter. So that is absolutely true. If you do the right activities and you persevere and you do all the activities, you will definitely survive. Dana, I know that you got into it at the same time that I did. So, but I got into property management, scored 100% in property management on my real estate exam and was intrigued and thought, you know what, I need to kind of think about this, whatever this is, because 100% is pretty good. And then fast forward a year later, I met a property management company owner who said, hey, why don't you come try this at my company? His son was exiting the business, worked for him for 8 years before deciding to kind of launch my own property management company. And then the rest is really history, and have been doing real estate and property management ever since.
Yeah. Incredible.
Heath decided to join forces somewhere along the way. I convinced him.
Yeah. So I kind of left my marketing background and decided, well, if I'm helping Josh, not only are we partners in business, we're partners in real life as well. So instead of working on a business that I was not 100% a part of at night and helping him through things and listening to all of his ideas and things, it's like, why not jump in? So I jumped in around 2017. And in 2018, Josh says I wasn't challenged enough. So he told me to start a new division within our company. And anybody that knows Josh, who loves to grow and develop people. So I started our short-term rental division in 2018 and took that part off and soared through success and everything.
And that happened fast. I feel like the short term was like you started it and then it like boomed quickly.
Yeah. I was blessed. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, Heath, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was blessed to start it at a great time in our market in 2018. It hadn't fully caught on. I had done about a year of research from some of our clients who were pushing us to offer this service from the East and West Coast, who were already familiar with short-term rentals and wanted to diversify their portfolio. So I did about a year of research to make sure I truly had a grasp of understanding the business, because if we're ever going to do anything, we want to make sure that we're doing it to exceed expectations and an exceptional service, and love being innovative. So we launched that in 2018. And about at that time, I really saw the development opportunities and helped a ton of clients do both development projects, retransition some of their portfolio, all in Central Kentucky. And it really did take off. So
yeah, it did. Awesome. Linda, were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to ask, honestly, we own vacation rentals. We have a small management company of vacation rentals, but we have a lot of rentals. But what we've quickly figured out is the money's on the management side. There's a lot of money on the management side. So when you were deciding out of the blue that you were going to start that business, how'd you find your people? How'd you find did you already have them in your database and they'd already been kind of knocking on your door to manage their short-term rental? I know Dana did one, but how did you find all the people that you needed to build such a, a good size property management?
Yep. I'll kind of start, and Josh, you can kind of piggyback off of me. So we built over a 7-figure property management company in less than 5 years. And we did all of that on repeat and referral business. We paid for zero advertising. We are huge on education. That's one of our core values. And we're huge on influence as well. So we attended any conference that we could attend, bringing stuff back into our market that was not being done. We attended any kind of function that we could attend, handwritten note cards, truly loving on our database that we currently had and our clientele. And truly became experts in our industry in the market to where we were being referred to, asked questions, and then promoting them into clients. That's really how we kind of did that. And then we're huge on numbers. Numbers don't lie. So we track everything. Key performance indicators are something that I'm just working on right now with our team. And for example, last week, we had 3 rentals that brought in our management company what it would take for a full month of revenue for 50 SFR doors, so single family homes.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's 1 week worth of income. So we kind of were able to show our clients that, hey, it's important to diversify your portfolio depending on your needs, but you can also make a little bit more income with short-term rentals compared to SFR, and just kind of navigating through that aspect.
So it sounds like what you did is you went to your database and you educated them. So educated, and did some of them then start diversifying and do vacation rentals?
Yeah, most certainly. And then we had a huge influx of people wanting to develop and find unique opportunities within the market, finding where the opportunity zones were as far as income, revenue, and occupancy that was kind of missing so far. Buying land, developing. So we helped a developer develop teepees in the gorge where they're raised and they were actual glamping units.
I'm still very bitter that I did not get one of those TPs that I made that offer on, by the way, at the gorge. Adam will say to this day, you will not let go that you didn't get that TP. I'm like, no, I could have made the cutest darn TP in the state of Kentucky.
Well, that's because literally you and I went and slopped down some holler for 2 hours trying to find that TP.
We did.
And literally no cell service. And we finally found it. And we're like, how in the world did we ever find this back here? But we did.
And then I didn't get it. So I was like, oh.
Did somebody else outbid you, Dana, or what happened?
Well, it's a whole story, but in some parts, agents like to only work with their people, and they want to get both sides of it. So they don't entertain the other offers because they have somebody too. So it's a whole issue, but yeah.
So when you have those, you have people that kind of develop those. Do you get to manage those? And is that kind of the same as managing like a house or a cabin or something like that?
Yeah. So any kind of development project we kind of did, we either would do consulting where we would kind of help come in on a development project where there would be transitioning a commercial piece of land or real estate and transitioning into some kind of residential, or understanding there needs to be a residential component to it, and just offering consulting. Or most of the times what we did is we offered such value that our clients felt like they needed to have us on the management side as well to make sure that it was set up for success, that we would manage either for a short-term period and then transition it in their in-house management, or just take on management full-time.
So when you talk about that research to do the single family rent or the opportunity, I assume you mean whatever rental, whether it's going to be long-term or single, what's that opportunity there? What are you looking for? You're looking for, is it oversaturated, undersaturated? What's the going rents? Is it short supply? Is that the kind of data you're helping for that developer look at?
Yeah. And Heath probably remembers, and I kind of wanted to go back and touch on at the beginning, really for us, when we decided to pivot and the demand was there to start the short-term side, we had to go out and educate all of our clients. And I heard this again at Family Reunion. Gary was saying, now you have to go out and add value to your clients and give them all of these things outside the box. We had to go and approach our clients and say, look, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for you, because believe it or not, when we launched it, a lot of people in our area, the investors, had no clue what Airbnb was. Mm-hmm. They were staying at other properties, but they had no clue how they worked. So we really, for an entire year, did seminars. We did investor events. Dana was part of those, like just educating people on the opportunity, because really the data was not there to back it up because nobody was tracking it. In our area, we were the first people and kind of company to start tracking the average nightly rates, everything. The city was not even tracking it because the tax, they were not collecting the tax from the tourist tax. So they didn't even have that data. So when we started researching it, we started researching from the aspect of how many people are traveling to our city and what does the lodging look like. And when we saw that there was a shortage in lodging, then that told us that people were going outside the city to stay in lodging, that there was a massive opportunity. So, anytime that you're going to present something to a client or an investor, they're all about the numbers. They have the ideas. You just got to back it up with the numbers. And that's what we did.
I think one of the things watching from like a 30,000 foot view that you guys did, and Linda, this is like so right up your alley because you did this when you sold real estate too, and when you were building the region. Like nobody was talking about this in Central Kentucky, and they were having these, what Josh just said, these seminars at like nice hotels, nice events, really great food and drinks and a bar and like everything. I mean, they were first class. And at first it started with maybe 10 people. And then by the time you knew it, there were 200 people, that were coming because that they were the only source of you really getting the information. I think Heath found me and just made me do one so that they could say, if Dana can do it, then anybody can do it. But it was like, then you started kind of seeing, okay, wow, that one worked. And, now look what's happening. And they were having these panels where they would be putting up investors. So they were making the investors feel special, but they were also educating the other people that they were. And it was just like this beautiful cycle of, because they were giving value and educating and using people with influence that were in the area, it all worked. It just all popped.
Yeah. Is there actually a list of people who could you actually market? I know it's not the same as a listing because they're under some kind of contract, but is there a way to actually, I guess, prospect people who already own a short-term rental? Did you do any of that?
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends on the market. Every market's different. I mean, right now, the whole country is seeing this. Regulations are really starting to crack down on short-term rentals. The whole landscape is quickly changing, unfortunately. I sat on an advisory panel for Fayette County for almost 2 years, and it's just educating and understanding. However, it becomes politics at the same time. So, I mean, that's one thing that I would strongly encourage realtors and anybody in the investing or real estate industry is truly learn about the benefits of short-term rental and making sure that you're having conversations with your buyers, your sellers, your investors, and also your city officials on understanding the benefits of what it does and for growth opportunity and making sure that things are staying to a certain level in an area. Because it's going to quickly change. But right now, if you have a city that allows you to register, you can get onto a registry and kind of look and prospect that way. Or you can just, I mean, we get it all the time, especially with like vendors and cleaners. They literally go through every single host and they just start reaching out. Hey, we're a cleaning service, or hey, we're a management service. Just wanted to offer our services or would love to have a conversation with you. Please reach out.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed, like, I'm in Whitefish, Montana today, and they have short-term rentals. But I've noticed and I've heard that they're the, I guess, council or whoever, they don't want them. So, which I don't know. I can't imagine if you're a kind of a tourist town, your businesses need, the business to come in and out, the people to come in and out, and they've got to stay somewhere. And you definitely don't have enough hotels here. So, do you see that regulation getting tighter in all the places for short-term rentals? And do they just not see the benefits, or is it just too much hassle?
And Heath, before you answer that, I don't interrupt you, but I just want to say, I just want to make sure Josh and I, and Linda's a big manifester too. We've already, Josh manifest stuff like we do. I just heard that Heath needs to run for mayor. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody else kind of heard that too. And that we might just go ahead and put that out there.
Let me get my presidential and mayor wave going on.
Yeah.
Okay, wouldn't that make me like the first something? Like, don't get benefits?
First lady.
Yeah.
Man,
sign
yes.
But yeah, to answer your question, what I have found is a lot of people, media is one. They kind of give a negative connotation on what's going on in short-term rentals. You hear all the horror stories, and you also hear, but you don't ever hear the horror stories of the SFR side.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many rentals, especially like if you look in our area, so many that were college housing that were dilapidated, and almost we had slumlords who were kind of running things. But then you bring a short-term rental who spends an astronomical amount of money to bring the value of the property in the neighborhood up, and then they're negatively penalized. So a lot of it's media coverage. The other thing too is they're trying to say that this is what's causing the housing shortage and housing issues. And when you looked at Fayette County, for example, and Lexington, Kentucky, we made up less than 1% of the entire housing population.
Yeah.
But yet that was the number one thing that council kept bringing up, is that we were a part of the housing issue and taking the neighbor out of the neighborhood. And when in reality, we're bringing a neighbor back into the neighborhood, because I can't tell you how many people that would have family that couldn't house them, but now had an opportunity of a house down the street to be able to put their family or friends up, and or converting guests into clients, into people who are moving into town, because we've seen a huge influx since COVID of people leaving the West and East Coast that are kind of coming to Central Kentucky. That's actually bringing the neighbor back into the neighborhood because of short-term.
You know, the crazy thing to me about all this is, and you kind of touched on this, but like when you have a short-term rental, it has to be perfect at all times because of your reviews, and you have to make sure everything. When you have a long-term single-family rental, I mean, those people can live there for 3 years and it can look like a junkyard, and there's really nothing you can do. So it's kind of like the opposite. I mean, I understand maybe them not wanting new people coming in and out every week. Like I could maybe see that point.
Well, it's so funny that you said that, because we had a super high-end, big single-family $1 million home in a neighborhood that the neighbors ran the short-term rental out of the neighborhood. We went in, the clients left the property. We went in and painted everything. We did new landscaping. It was perfect looking. They had horse plank fencing. We repainted. It was perfect. They threw a fit. The neighbors threw a fit. So we can no longer run the short-term rental. Heath and I just drove by the property, has new owners, and literally the fence is falling down. Like, they ripped out all the landscaping. It's overgrown. And I said, isn't it crazy? Like, those same neighbors, that's not what they were complaining about. They did not consider like the appreciation and then what we were doing for the property. It was just that they did not want a short-term rental in the neighborhood. So it wasn't the principle that the property was going to go down. I mean, it looked incredible. And now you have someone who owns that $1 million home where it actually looks like it should not belong in the neighborhood. So
I guess it depends on how you look at it, right? I mean, from what angle you actually look at it. So what is the solution to that for people who want to be in the short-term rental business? What do you do? Now you have to go find places that are zoned for that?
Well, the other thing too is, if you're looking for a place, regulations can change on the daily. Nobody ever predicted a pandemic either. So, I mean, there's so many outliers. I would say really do your research and study on a market to make sure, A, there's no regulations that are going to push you out or that are coming down the pipeline. But two, on an investment, making sure that you're investing in a property that could be converted back to a single family residence as a long-term rental, still be able to cash flow for you.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Run it both ways. And if it won't work as a single family, you could be in a bind.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's too, a lot of these areas, like the big hotel players are the ones that aren't wanting short-term rentals in their space because, a lot of them have actually got into the short-term and started offering short-term stays, and they're trying different things. So they're the ones that actually call the shots because even though there's a shortage, they don't care. They just don't want other options for people.
Yeah.
Because then they have to start manipulating their own prices.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's switch gears and talk about after, however many years it was open, right? I can't remember how many total years. What was the highest doors that you guys had before?
Almost 2,000.
Okay.
And that's a mixture of single family and short term?
Yeah.
Majority of our portfolio was single family residences. The most we had in short term at one time was 110 units.
Okay.
Which is a lot short term. That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
That's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. How many guests would we have a month, Heath?
At the highest it was around 600. We're now averaging close to 400 to 500 guests per month.
Wow. Yeah,
So,
Is
and
that
that's,
because oversupply is that it's gone down?
Just we have offboarded some doors and supply and that kind of thing. Yeah, a mixture
Yeah.
of both.
I think with the regulations, some people have had to switch, right, to long
Yep.
term.
We've
Yeah.
had some people switch and get out of the market and sell.
Yeah.
So I don't think, Josh, when you originally started the Kentucky Life, that you ever thought probably in any way, shape, or fashion that you would ever sell it. And then now that it's kind of public, we can talk about it. But you guys recently did sell it. And so Linda and I get a lot of questions about selling a business, whether it's your real estate business, another business that you own, or what that looks like. So I really wanted you guys to touch on that. And Josh, maybe talk about, like, were you looking to sell it? Did it come out of nowhere? And just walk us through, because I know you, that it was a long, grueling process of like a lot of emotions. And I just kind of want you to talk a little bit about that.
yeah, great question. Correct. Yeah, I did not build it or start it to ever sell it. I know some people, that is their end game or their expectation, is they're building their business to sell it. That was never my expectation. I thought that would be my legacy. That's what I would leave my dogs, my kids, whoever wanted it, whoever would take it. That's literally was my purpose. That was everything. My identity was tied to the business, which I found out later was not a great thing, but really trucking along, we were growing at 25 to 50 doors a month, because truly, like, that is what we loved. It was our passion. Then COVID hit, and it started making everybody consider everything. And really, when we were slowing down and had time to think and had that space during COVID to think, wow, okay, we've not had time to breathe. We were able to see that really our purpose was out of alignment of our personal purpose versus our business purpose. And I was able to quickly see the whole reason that we wanted to build a big business would be to leverage our time and to have time for our family, our friends. And in reality, when I reflected back during COVID, I'm like, that was the opposite was happening. We were out of alignment. And then, so it just so happened during that time that I started really thinking about getting back in alignment and looking at our purpose and thinking, how did we get off track?
Yeah.
I heard a podcast, and that podcast, obviously I'm very spiritual, and started praying about it and saying, well, like, how do I get back in alignment? And on that podcast, it was a brand new podcast, episode 1. It was about selling your property management company. And the guest on the property management company, his name is Pete. I'll leave it there. I was so intrigued by Pete. He had the same thing going on with his company. He had never thought about selling it. Then he ended up selling it. So then fast forward 2 months from there, I flew to a conference in Dallas, a property management conference. And lo and behold, I was assigned a room to a mentor, and he was the mentor in the room. And I said, okay, God, I'm here. I'm in the room with the person that you wanted me to be with. So I'm listening. And so he told me I got to ask him every single question. I actually had my team there with me. I had to ask him several questions. And the one thing he told me, he said, you can sell your business, but just know that the day that you sell your business, you're going to wake up and you won't know your purpose. Yeah. And I said, well, the funny thing is, my purpose was already out of alignment. And that's the reason that I'm here asking you these questions.
Yeah.
And so he introduced me to the people that he had sold his business to. And it just trickled down from there. We aligned perfectly. And like you said, it was really like a 2-year decision. I had to do my research, had to talk to people, I flew the entire team out to California and met this company. Really wanted to make sure that it wasn't just my decision. Like, I had built this company, not for myself. It was for our community, for our vendors, for our team. It was for everybody. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a Josh decision or just a Heath decision, that it was something that we were all as a team bought into. I mean, I didn't let them into every single detail, but I wanted to make sure that they aligned with like our vision. And so this company had the same vision, growth oriented. It's built by property management owners with the same branding, the same intentions, the same everything that aligned with us. And so really after, considering that and how it all aligned, we started looking at what would be the pros and the cons of staying not owned or merging with a bigger entity, because the ultimate vision and mission of the company was to be the most respected and biggest property management company. In order to do that and for professional development of our people. And so in order to do that, when you're a super small business, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. It's still hard to like provide all the benefits, the insurance, all the things for all your team members, especially when you're growing to 15, 16 different team members. And so when we looked, the benefits really outweighed to partner with somebody, because it's still hard for me to say I sold the business. My mind wants to tell me that I merged and I partnered with someone, because selling seems so ending and final to me. And I'm not a final person. I'm like, no, next chapter, which we are investors in this new company. So we're still, part of the company, but really partnering with the company just enabled us to catapult the trajectory really of our business. We didn't end anything. It was just an extension of what we were already doing. And that's what we wanted to make sure before we ever considered selling the business.
Yeah. What would you say were like, when both, this can be for both of you, but like, what would you say were the top one or two, like the biggest challenges of merging or selling, whatever word you're using now?
The biggest
one thing is control. And that, you have to realize that even though that you're merging or selling with a company that you're in alignment with. So for example, we're still on as operators. We're still running our company. And we chose to do that while some sellers exited when they sold and merged.
Right.
But you have to realize that you have to let go of some sense of control. And I think that's been the hardest thing. It was easier for one of us than the other. And then at times the roles would switch in reverse. But yeah, I mean, the control would be my biggest thing.
Yeah, I totally can see that.
Well, you definitely stole mine. Because control is mine. But I mean, I think it's a healthy way to look at everything, because it makes you think your opinion isn't the only one that matters, and you're having to look at things from a different perspective, which has actually been really good, because that's why we sold, to have other fresh perspectives for the business. But probably, yes, just control, and then being open to change in a way that you aren't in control of. So basically control. Because we created a culture of change at our office, and always did, embrace change and looking for change and pivoting and being innovative. But we were always very strategic in how we changed and what we implemented.
Yeah. What have been some of the best things or the blessings that have come from it since then? And then talk about the podcast too.
Leveraging our time. Really, we went from being business owners to employees. That was a shift, and definitely a mindset shift. But the good thing is, like, we were able to learn our new role and really what our 20% activities were and what the 80% activities were, because really we were doing so much as business owners that we didn't realize. And so once we learned our new role, it really freed up probably 80% of our time, because our new role was really the 20% of activities that really mattered for our team.
And too, I think, to piggyback off of that was, it allowed us to kind of get back to the core of who we were. We are very innovative and creative people, and had so many things that we wanted to venture into, but kept putting them on our 80% because we were so growth mindset and focused on our business, that it's allowed us the time to kind of get back in touch with ourselves, and launch some new opportunities. One being our podcast, Keeping It Entrepreneurial. We realized that there wasn't a space or conversations that were being had where entrepreneurs were sharing their stories, both the highs and the lows, and kind of being candid and offering advice, that we felt was a huge missed opportunity. So it's something that we're super excited to get into. And one thing that we've really noticed is that if you look at all these exceptional leaders, you look at all of these people that truly speak and have changed their lives, they always share their story every single time they speak. And that was a trend that we kind of caught on to. And you shouldn't be scared of your story or where you came from. Your story's too small or big.
But that's been the most interesting thing, is that most people, if they're not in some type of world where they're in podcasts and all this stuff, they're not given the space to tell their story. And that's been the most interesting thing, because even if what we've realized is that if you can consistently, the people that are consistently out there telling their story, they continue to have success.
Yeah.
Because I think it's that they're constantly reminded of where they've been. And, example, just look at Linda and Jimmy. Like
Yeah.
any great speaker, they're always out there telling their story because they're reminded of where they've been, the setbacks, all of these things. But also it keeps you humble because you're able to reflect, and then it gives you the momentum to keep moving forward because you don't want to stay where you're at, and you can remember where you've been. So I think it's super important to give people the space to like tell their story. And as we've interviewed people, it's been the first time that they've told their story. And as you listen to them, you can see all of these like flash bulbs going off that they're like, wow, I have been through a lot. I've had setbacks and I've overcome those.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Like for everybody listening, you have got to go download the podcast because it doesn't have anything to do with property management. So like, if you're like, I don't know about property management, that's not what it's about. So many people text me after like the first 2 episodes dropped and said, oh my gosh, I've been like, it feels so good to know that somebody else has the same problems that I have, or they have had the same problems that I've had, or like I'm going through this right now. And that really encouraged me because as an entrepreneur or business owner, I mean, it's a different world. And sometimes you do feel like you're alone. And so I think it's amazing. And it feels good to like, thanks for having me because I was on, you guys will have to have Linda on. And, but it does feel good to tell your story, and a lot of people, like you all said, don't get the opportunity really maybe to ever do that or at the level that you guys ask great questions on. So it's great.
Well, I think it's kind of like the highlight reels. Like everybody gets the highlight reels and especially Instagram reels of just kind of like what you want.
Yeah.
But I think, the number one thing that we consistently hear are about the setbacks, but it's about the failure piece. And really like with entrepreneurs and like our main focus on our podcast is entrepreneurship and leadership and motivation, but that failure is not final or fatal.
Yeah.
And for people to find the purpose through that pain has been really significant for change in all of their lives. And that's been consistent in everybody that we've interviewed. And honestly, when we told our story on those first couple episodes, I realized that number one, that was therapy, that you don't realize what all you've been through as an entrepreneur, that you do need to share those lessons with other people, because this next phase for Heath and I and our businesses and things that we want to accomplish is not just success, it's really significance, and that's through other people. And stepping into that space, you have a different perspective on what you want to accomplish and the impact you want to make.
Yeah, that's so true. That's a good John Maxwell right there. Significance over success, right?
Well, he is a part of the family. He just doesn't know it, right?
That's right. I know. Okay. Sorry, guys. Linda had a computer problem, and she's like, "I don't think you can hear me talk." LOL. I'm like, "No, we can't hear you, Linda. We can't see you or hear you."
We're sending an SOS to Montana currently.
In the ranges.
I think she can hear us though. I don't know. Okay, last question, and then I want you to tell everybody where they can find you guys, and especially the podcast too. But what's been the biggest lesson this is a curveball? I didn't ask you all this before, but what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned, like through all of it, just through the whole selling of the business process, through getting back to your creative, getting in realignment? Like, what would you say each of you? What's been the biggest lesson?
I would say. Oh, okay. This is typical Heath and I.
So, reading your mind. But I was going to say mindset. And the reason why is I've never, you always hear about mindset and having a relationship with it and everything. But Josh has always been somebody that has always had a clear vision and a tunnel. And it's been very encouraging. No matter the circumstances, he's been able to overcome. And he always says, you're married to mindset until death do you part. And that really didn't hit me until we had a conversation about it during this process. The importance and how it can truly change your life. So I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And if anybody steals that book idea, I'm going to come for you. But I truly do believe, obviously, Dana, I gave you this Instagram handle as you're the queen of mindset, but I think we're very similar in that most people wait until they need it. until they start practicing mindset. And like he said, it's truly being married to mindset, because then you have to have a relationship with mindset. It's literally like being married to anybody else. You have to be super intentional. And it truly is till death do you part. It's not from one day to the next. It's every single day, because you don't know when you're going to wake up and be faced with any challenge. But it's too late to start practicing that mindset when you need it that day. And you know that. We all go through those times. And when you need it, you've got to be at your strongest. But I think for me, probably through all of this, I realized that I wasn't stepping into big commitments. I had really gotten complacent. And to step into those big commitments, I realized that really discomfort is the currency of our dreams. And the more uncomfortable.
I love that. Wait, say that one more time.
Discomfort is the currency of our dreams.
Love
and
that.
We have to step into more situations.
Did you make that up?
Who knows at this point, with so much that we hear, if it's our content or if it's John's or if it's Craig Rochelle's or Linda.
I feel like you should own that, though. I've never heard that. That's good.
Well, I'll put it in GPT right now that Josh owns it.
Okay, perfect.
Somebody Google it and give me credit, or don't call me out, whatever it is. But truly, like, stepping into those uncomfortable situations, that's been the biggest lesson for me so far, is that I had been teaching our team to step into all those discomfort and uncomfortable situations to grow. But I personally, as a leader, wasn't stepping into as many as I needed to in order to grow bigger for them.
Yeah.
And so this selling the business and stepping into new spaces has really made me aware that I need to step into even more, because my potential is way more than I ever realized.
Yeah. I love it.
And I think people listening, just, are you truly stepping into uncomfortable situations, or are you just categorizing them as uncomfortable situations? Because for me, you all know I don't like public speaking. I will do this. And I know personally for myself, and I'll put this out here, I will speak at some big engagement. I'm going to put it out there. But I know that probably personally, that's holding me back in ways that I don't even realize. But I think just looking at those situations where you can grow and that truly terrify you.
Yeah. I wish Linda is having a cord computer problem, she's saying now. Oh my gosh. But I wish that she were here, because I know what she would say, so I'll just say it. But she teaches so much the 4 C's. And it's true, because when you get to the 4th C, if you aren't going ahead and making another big commitment, which is the 1st C, you fall into the 5th C, which is complacency, which is exactly what exactly what you just said. And it's true. And sometimes you're so comfortable in complacency that you don't even realize it. I mean, and I think we've all kind of been there, but then it's like, whoa, I got to go do something really big and scary, as Linda would say, that makes me want to pee my pants. So that you get jolted out of that again, which was kind of what Tony Robbins said that we just heard, which is you have to change your state.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember the podcast you even sent me of Daniel Floyd's, that I was on the plane going to Colorado for the first meeting of my new company after the second day I had sold, and thinking about stepping into new commitments. And he said that your current success can keep you from future success.
Yeah.
And that's because when you've reached a certain level of success, there's so much more risk that you're not willing to risk to go to the next level. When you're at the bottom and you're on the come up, you'll risk anything because you don't have anything to lose. But really, it's so pivotal when you want to go to another level that you also have to go through a same number of risks if you're going to step into those big commitments. And for so many people, and for myself, I kept looking at that and thinking, no, I just want to stay comfortable, because what if this, what if that? Like, I had so much more to lose. But truly, I think when Daniel Floyd said that, it hit me with like a ton of bricks, is that your current success in any business can keep you, if you're not willing to go on that 30%.
Yeah. So true. So good. Love it. We'll have to play the second half of the podcast first, because you all dropped so many good nuggets. Not that you didn't in the first part, but this is like the meat and potatoes of it. Awesome. Okay. Oh, I think Linda's back.
Yes, I'm back. And I did owe everything you said. Yes. That's very good, Josh. I love it.
Linda, any last question now that we can see you and hear you?
No, I'm just dying to listen to the podcast. So we got to make sure everybody knows how to find that. And
We will.
One point, Josh, the thing about stories is I remember when I was just dying on the vine as an entrepreneur, trying to figure out, God, am I even on the right path? Just hearing somebody else's story and failure made me go, okay, so failure's the normal part of this. So I must be on the right track. So I love that you guys are doing stories because people can see themselves in a story. And it's one of the 3 ways that we talk about how people can self-discover stuff. They don't do it by you just telling them only your successes. They self-discover from the stories and that they can see their own journey in that story.
Yeah. It's so cool.
And what do they say? If you want to impress people, talk about your successes. If you want to impact them, talk about your failures.
Yes.
And I think that's monumental because really on our podcast, we have been focusing the majority on the setbacks because most people don't know how to move through the setback piece.
Yeah. Or they're too afraid of the setbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The setbacks scare them because they didn't anticipate it would be that hard when they got there.
Yeah.
So
true.
So true. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, Linda, you got to go on their podcast because you have the best story of all time.
Yes, you do.
So. Thanks for self-inviting me, Dana.
I have an idea for you, Linda. So just be prepared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Oh, I know that idea, actually. Don't I know? Oh, this is a big idea, actually.
Yeah,
it's good.
We've got several ideas. Yeah, for
it's
sure.
It's really good. Okay. Yeah. I'll let y'all tell Linda about that. But, okay. Tell them real fast. How can they find you all? Like, what's the best way to contact you, reach out to you, etc.?
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
We are also just want to mention that we are stepping into our new big commitment and launching our coaching side of the business.
Nice.
Where we are going to launch our coaching for property management companies and just teams, real estate teams. It's really important right now, obviously, for anybody who owns a real estate team wanting to start a property management side of their business, to keep that data, to grow it, to scale it. Now we know how to sell it. And then we're one thing that grew our business, obviously, the biggest was the experience. So we're launching a $1 million experience course for people who want to bring back the magic back to their customer experience. So we're launching that. Starting next week. So that's another big commitment that scares us, but we're ready to share that.
Linda will tell you all that you're going to need a lot of depends. I can't believe she hasn't said that yet.
So if I understand what you're saying there, you're going to teach people how to create $1 million experience for your customers?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, good. Awesome. All right. We'll look forward to all of that. So, Dana, I mean, I don't know which coaching I need the most, the property management build the property management side of the business or the $1 million experience. I like them both.
I know. Super awesome. Thank you all so much. They can find you on Instagram, Keeping It Entrepreneurial. And then Josh, you're the Property Prince.
The Property Prince. Yes.
And Heath, you are the King of B&B. There you go. Yep. Find them on Instagram, follow them. And
you guys, I just want to say lastly, I've watched you guys obviously from day one doing this and so proud of you guys because I know how busy both of you guys are in your daily lives. You've been so consistent in finding the time that the number one thing that we have for our podcast, and everybody's asked us, do you want to be famous? Do you want to be number one this? Do you want to do that? Honestly, our number one goal is to be consistent.
Yeah.
And that is what we're focusing on is being consistent and doing those episodes. So congrats to you guys because I know that's not been easy and definitely thank you guys for having us on again.
Yeah.
We sure appreciate
it. Definitely
it's easy when you're
trying to do that, right, Dana?
There's definitely a messy side. And I was going to say, it's easy to be consistent when you like who you're doing it with, when you want to talk to the person that you're talking to.
Yeah. It's the only time you actually have to do that.
That's right.
So remember,
Awesome.
If you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and hit that button now. And the greatest compliment you could pay Dana and I is to pass this podcast along to anybody that you think that would enjoy these kinds of conversations. If you have a challenge, an opportunity, a question, or a guest that you believe would be great on the podcast, reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Josh, Heath, thank you so much. And Dana, I'll see you next week.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.